Hello there, and welcome to the newest episode of the SHEE Boss Chronicles, hosted by the U.S. Coalition of Black Women Businesses. And in case you don't know it, SHEE is an acronym for Social, Health, and Economic Equity, and that is the platform that we present in the podcast that we're doing. And today, we are so excited to share with you this wonderful woman, the work that she does, why she does it. Her name is Dr. Lola Omishore, and she is just a wonderful person. So I'm just going to read very, very quickly a few high points, and then we're going to jump right into our conversation. And I want to go back because I'm pretty sure I mispronounced her name. So it's Dr. Lola Omishore.
Yes.
And she began her career in sports medicine, working with and treating elite athletes across the country, but came to the realization one day that if the general public had access to that sort of quality healthcare on demand, what could that actually do for people? So at this point, I'm going to shift it over to Dr. Omishore, Dr. Omishore, and she's going to tell us who she is, and then we'll get into a more in-depth conversation.
Thank you so much, Miss Anita. So as you said, my name is Dr. Lola Omishore. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but when it came time to go away to school, I knew I wanted to go further out. I knew I was going to come back home, so I wanted to have a different experience, and that led me to the University of Miami. And in school, all I knew is that I liked basketball, but I couldn't play. I was tall, and everybody assumed I'd be good. I assumed it too, but it turned out that I wasn't. So being the practical person I still figured out there has to be a way I can still work around basketball, even if I'm not going to be a player. And that's how I actually got into my field, sports medicine. And so we traveled the country wherever the athletes had games. The games had, they had to have a training room wherever they were. And so the medical staff always had to be with them. So if they had 2-a-days and they were up at 4 a.m., we were up at 3 a.m. setting up for them. So the access to care that they had was just so different than the general population. And I've been practicing for over 10 years now. And to see that stark contrast to when people find you valuable, the no stops at what would I call it? The doors that are open for you when you're considered valuable is so different than when you're considered a marginalized person or a low socioeconomic person. And having seen those two extremes, I wanted to find a way to bridge that gap. And for me, that came in the way of a clinic that had no limits. When I think about brick and mortars, it's exactly what it sounds like: stagnant, rigid, unyielding. And when I think about clinics that are on wheels, for me, I thought about something that's dynamic, that can change and move as needed. And now I wouldn't have to choose between, do people deserve luxury or do they deserve access? I think that luxury and access go hand in hand, and it shouldn't be economically dependent. And unfortunately, right now in healthcare, that's what it is. If you're a healthcare provider and you choose to be in a low-income neighborhood, you know that comes with low-income insurance, which is terrible. And so you end up having to see large volumes of people at your detriment and their detriment. And then on the flip side, if you choose, hey, I want to be paid what I'm worth, right? Doctors are going to school for 12 years. And then as physical therapists, we're going to school for 7 years. This is a long period of time, and we amass a lot of student debt. And then to get paid poorly, it just doesn't balance out. So what happens is that healthcare providers go on the extreme route and start saying, I'm cash pay only. And that means you're not necessarily helping people who need it, but you're helping people who can afford it. And that's pretty much what we have in healthcare right now. You have the haves, where I can afford to choose quality providers, and then the have-nots, where you take what you can get.
You know, one of the reasons why this organization was started when we do our health and equity conferences, it's because there really is a disparity. And it's not new. I've been part of organizations and Black women organizations for over 30 years, and this has not changed. It's always been happening. And so, what's happening, I think other folks that don't look like us are like all of a sudden, oh, this is really happening? Yes, it has. And then generational, you think about what we have gone through as Black people and as Black women. I remember being 18 years old, getting my license, and the first thing that came out my mother's mouth was, and she's 85 years young right now, first thing out of her mouth is, do not put down that you will be a donor because they will let you die and black market your body parts. And so you have that disparity where a generation of folks who don't trust doctors at all, don't trust the healthcare system. But then on the flip side, what you guys go through as a provider, because all of this trickles down.
Yes.
And as when you go into as a provider and being business owners, you're not being treated fairly either. You're not getting paid on time. There's a cost of everything. The insurance is high. And so who hurts the most? Our community. And as Black women business owners, when you have employees and you're looking for care, through this system that's going to benefit your employees and yourself, there's another dilemma with the insurance costs. Mm-hmm. So, we feel it too. You pay for this insurance and then you have an employee and they give you a hard time of getting the workman's compensation or all of this other red tape. In the meantime, this person is suffering health-wise. I can say personally with my own health, being a survivor of 2 heart attacks and stroke, the good side of it and the bad side of it. I've been there personally. I have seen others, and it's still going on. And then, the enormous amount of rate of birth, so many women dying by giving childbirth. So, we're looking forward to you talking at the conference, but we love the idea of, this help, physical therapy. That's another thing. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, all of that, depending on your insurance, depends on whether you're going to get care or you're not going to get care. Mm-hmm. I want you to elaborate a little more on, as a business owner, what it is that you need. How do we rally behind you, making the awareness of your business so people know how to seek you out and what you can actually provide for them?
That's a loaded question. I think as healthcare providers, a lot of times nobody really asks us what we need. Usually if you go into this kind of field, you are inherently like service and solution oriented. So you're used to kind of taking away the attention from yourself and pouring it into other people. And people who are in pain or sick, they pull on you a lot. So it kind of allows us to kind of stay in the background and be altruistic and earn an income simultaneously. So to even be asked, like, what is it that you need? I almost feel like I haven't really been asked that before. So I don't have an answer readily available. But if I had to think about it, what I need is for people to understand the over-reliance of medications in healthcare is really, really, really detrimental. And this goes beyond demographics at this point. We have kids that are becoming suicidal at young ages, and just people who need pain medicine to just go to sleep. So there's just like a over-reliance where when you go to a physician now and you have an issue, it's almost like they're a pharmacist. They can only prescribe medication. There's no actual treatment or intervention, because interventions require regular checkups to see how you're responding to the intervention. So giving somebody medication is not healthcare. Giving someone medication is not medicine. The reason why medicine, when someone has a practice, is called practice is because it's through trial and error. So if I wanted to emphasize what I need, is for people to understand that being on medication does not mean that disease is actually being treated or managed. It simply means that you're remaining sick.
Right.
No one has ever taken blood pressure medication and then their blood pressure was lower and they were able to get off of it. Same thing with diabetes. You don't go on metformin and then when you go off of it, you no longer have diabetes. So what that means is that you have a over-reliance on medication to keep you sick for the rest of your life. And that is not healthcare. So if I needed anything, it would be for people to stop relying on medications to fix things and to start taking autonomy over their health. And that's what I really love about physical therapy. We have a really good relationship with physicians because physicians don't actually know how to treat. So they will refer you out to physical therapy with no problem, because that way you're not coming back to them over and over again with problems that they don't really have a tool to fix. The tool is surgery or medication. That's what they have for the most part. You do have your holistic physicians and your osteopaths that do take more of a holistic approach. And I love those forms of physicians, but they're few and far in between, and you have to pay cash to get access to them because insurance is not going to pay. So once you start delving into this world, you start to see that insurance will only pay when you are already disease ridden. And then when it comes to things that will actually help you, they limit it. They make it very finite until the point you need to go and do surgery. But studies have shown that physical therapy is equally as effective or much more effective than having surgery. Okay. So if I needed anything, it's for people to kind of become more aware of physical therapy and the wide utilization of it for a lot of the chronic diseases that are plaguing our communities in particular. Diabetes, heart failure, hypertension. It's not the actual disease that's killing us, it's the effect that it has on our kidneys. Once your kidneys go, you're no longer a fully functioning person anymore. And diabetes is usually the start of that. And a lot of people think, well, I'm on medication, there's no problem. The medication, especially if you're starting earlier, the potency will die down and you'll need more and more of it to have the same effect. So I want people to start moving away from that over-reliance on medications and start taking more of an autonomous approach when it comes to their healthcare. And physical therapy, I feel, is going to be a pivotal part of doing that.
And as you were talking, and I was going back and reading some of your bio that you had sent over, and that phrase "healthcare on demand." Right. I'd like to hear you talk a little bit more about that, because what that brings to my mind is totally agreeing with everything that you said. This over-reliance on medication and all of that, but you're also, what I value is that you're acknowledging the role that the assurance companies play in limiting that healthcare on demand. So if you were to describe what healthcare demand looks like for you, like healthcare on demand, what does that actually look like for you? So what is your overall vision when it comes to that phrase?
Right. So the idea of this mobile clinic has really just taken off and evolved from 2.5 years ago when the idea came about to now. So I see it happening in phases. I bootstrapped the construction of the prototype. It was $250,000 to build out. And I used the revenue that I already had from my existing practice to finance the build of the vehicle. My vision for it was when you walk in, it should have everything that you would expect to see in a brick and mortar. I didn't want it to feel like you had to choose. I'm an only child, so I feel like you can have your cake and eat it too. And luckily for my patients, yes. So I feel that everyone should have that. I don't like when people make it seem like you have to choose. You have to give something up. And so when it comes to healthcare, you can choose convenience and then sacrifice quality, or you can choose quality and sacrifice convenience. And so the healthcare on demand was, hey, you can have quality and convenience. You don't have to choose. And so as it evolves with having only one unit, my goal is to have investors invest at least $1 million so I can build subsequent vehicles, because we're going to reach capacity quickly. And then that's going to affect our accessibility. So the tenet of this mobile clinic is that it needs to be accessible, not having long wait times. A lot of times when you go to your local clinic, they might say we don't have availability until next month. So your problems don't go away because they don't have availability. And what I'm looking to do is to increase the access to physical therapy by going to neighborhoods that are most in need and being able to build out fleets that can serve those neighborhoods that are most in need, but not on a one-off basis, on a weekly basis where we can track their progress, have them go through 12-week programs, use the technology in our clinic to show them their baseline and where they are 12 weeks from now. Give them insight that normally they would have to go to a physician once a year to maybe find out. But now they're going to have weekly insight because there's a ton of wearable technology that has come on the market that gives you insight that normally you would have to go to a doctor's office for. The problem is it's not in the hands of our community, right? It's expensive, $400, $500. So all this great software and technology. And when I'm in these health conferences, you have people that look nothing like us, and they're talking about diversity and inclusion and social determinants of health, and they have no idea what that actually means. The technology that they're talking about using, they don't even have an insurance payer that would pay for it. So how does it get into the hands of the masses? Because the masses do not have $400 to $600 to pay for these devices, no matter how great they are. Right.
And that is true. That is true. I mean, you go to some of these pharmacists and you're standing online to get your medication and you hear people in tears. You see people like, what do you mean the insurance is not going to cover that? But the doctor prescribed this? And then, and they need this in order to survive. And then you have those that are going completely holistic and finding ways to work the medication, healthy exercise, or what have you, because you're taking the medication for this, but it's breaking down something else. I've been there with, I had a sciatica situation. And during that time, they had to recall this medication because that medication was giving people heart disease and strokes. And
wow.
so, yeah, and to live through that, and then, the class action lawsuit and all of this other type of stuff, but the damage has already been done. And so we're coming to a time now where things are extremely expensive. Inflation is up. Everything that's going on with businesses, everyone is in survival mode. We're still dealing with, I can't even say post-COVID because now they're talking about the new variant is on the rise. So we don't know what is going to happen in the next 6 months. Are we going to be on a lockdown again? All of these factors also bring in a lot of stress. Okay. And then for our community, it's a stress. If some of our folks, they go to work, they can't take off of work because, if they have a child, they can't take off because they have to turn around and pay that co-payment that they can't afford and then lose work. There's just so many things that affect our community. And so having what you do, meeting the people at where they are, and then them looking at you because you look like them, representation matters. Okay. And it's just not a cartoon that they see on TV, to actually see you. It's so important because we need us to take care of us. And they had a study, I saw in the news a couple of weeks ago where they were saying that those that's in the Black and brown community who have physicians or healthcare providers, everyone that's in the industry that look like them, live longer.
Yes.
Live longer.
Yes.
Because they're coming from the heart of human life, and there's no prejudge. We're here to help you. We're here to heal, and you're not the first provider that we have spoken to, because we have quite a few of you guys as members that said, you look at yourself as a healer first, to be there to help, But at the same time, it goes both ways. We're here to help you guys as well and understand that you are a business as well. And
Right.
you have bills that have to be paid as well. So
Right.
it's that education for our community to understand what's really going on. And let's just really get to the heart of this and work together,
Right.
because there's an enormous amount of pressure that's on our providers as well as
Right.
it is for the patients.
You mentioned a few things that I kind of wanted to emphasize. You mentioned I need this medication to survive. And I think that that's been the greatest disservice that have been done to people
Yes,
of color is that we're
yes.
in this constant keeping our head above water
Hmm.
situation. And when you're in that situation, as long as you're alive, you don't even see what's actually happening around you because you're taking it day by day, minute by minute. I'm
That's right.
surviving. I'm not thriving. And
Right,
for us, I think that the status quo has just been to survive.
right, right, right.
And
And with the wellness conference that we're going to be having in Ghana in 2024, we're going to be talking about that. And Nicole is, let's go natural. Let's take care of ourselves, in a natural way, a holistic way. And it's true. Some of the folks that I know personally who have turned, they're no longer on medication. They look younger. They're healthier. They're happy. They're exercising, and it's a process. It's just not like you
mm-hmm.
just stop your medication like that, because
Right,
you can have some type of repercussions for that.
right,
You know. You mentioned something, and when you said high blood pressure, I try to avoid taking high blood pressure medicine for a long time, because once you start that, you're stuck with it to a
yeah,
sense until you start getting healthy and regiment and what have you, and you no longer have to use that medication. But the average person in our community don't know that.
right.
And the only way they're going to know that is like platforms like this, talking to you, doctor, and and others, to educate us on the next steps and how to fulfill living a healthier life,
Right.
because the stresses that we're dealing with, it's there, it's real.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that for me that's still so disheartening in medicine is that you can reverse high blood pressure, you can
Hmm.
reverse diabetes, you can reverse heart disease if you one are monitoring yourself regularly enough. What happens a lot of times, especially in our world, is we have to be debilitated before we seek out healthcare. And by the time you're debilitated, you cannot expect to be restored to whole. That means that there have been decades of damage that your body has finally
Right.
succumbed to. And now you want to be restored. No practitioner can restore 50 years of damage
Thank you.
in
Yeah.
2 weeks, in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks. And that's what happens. There's an expectation that when you do go to someone that purports to be a healer of whatever sort, that one session or 3 sessions should get you better, not realizing that this was your body literally was able to withstand decades of neglect before it said, I can't anymore.
Right. It's
You
a
can,
lifestyle change.
right, you can reverse, but think, I always tell any patient of mine, if they come in, maybe they have back injury or they've been in back pain for 7 years. I said, give me half the time that you've been in pain to get you out of it. Don't expect to come here for a month when you've been in pain for years and expect some kind of miracle. It's not fair for you. It's not fair for me. The expectations are too high and they're not realistic.
Right.
Yeah. And I have a lot of patients who garden, I guess because they're older. And I asked them, I said, you have plants that take a whole year to bloom. Do you get rid of it after a week if it's not blooming? So why do you take your health in that way? Why do you assume that it's so much more responsive than actual living things that you see take time and seasons to come to fruition?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a mindset as well. It's a discipline. And we live in a society that everything is now instant. And so everybody think everything is going to be instant. And it just doesn't work that way. It doesn't. It takes time. It takes, like I said, discipline, learning. And I'm even speaking to myself. I know about all of these disparities and the champion of, you know, women's health and let's get this going and what have you. And then look at what I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
and, and what I'm walking through. And so it's easier said than done. But,
Right.
when you take the time to think, you go, what are you doing? And it's never too late to start a better life as far as your health is concerned.
Well, that's the other half of the idea, because it's a mobile physical therapy clinic, but it leverages technology in a way that's going to help better engage you on your healthcare journey. So the ring I'm wearing here is called Aura. It's a wearable health ring, and it will tell me how many hours I slept, how many times I got up, my REM sleep, my deep sleep. It will give me a breakdown of the quality of sleep that I had. It will also tell me how many steps I took for the day. It will tell me my oxygen saturation while I was sleeping. In case I had sleep apnea, I could see when my oxygen levels would decrease. And then it tells me what my heart rate is moment to moment, but also what my heart rate variability is while I'm sleeping. And it uses all of that every day to give you a score for how ready you are for the day. And having that kind of information, right? Because this is very abstract if you don't have something to look at. So the wearable technology, the health tech, that has a place in healthcare, but the clinicians have to be the one that administers it, because we know what's useful and we know what's also a signal of you getting better or getting worse.
Right.
So if you've been in pain for years, and then I look at your Aura ring over a week and see you only average 3.5 hours of sleep every night. You're never going to come out of pain if you're not sleeping, because while you sleep is when actually the cells regenerate. They eat up the cells that are damaged and no good, and then they're able to start off new again. So what happens when someone's chronically sleep deprived is that they don't actually go through a recycling phase.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really important. Very, very important. Very, very important.
So can we segue into another topic, if you will?
Yes.
Having said all of that, it's just such a beautiful approach to a massive problem, right? And if I circle back to what we were saying earlier about the role that insurance companies play in all of this as the payers, if you will. So can you talk a little bit about what your payment model would look like, number one, and how does that fit in terms of scaling the mobile approach that you're describing?
Right. So when I initially came up with this idea, and when people would ask, well, who's your target? I'm like, well, everyone's my target, because everyone needs physical therapy at a certain part of their life. My youngest patient has been 3 months old. My oldest patient has been 104. And if you know anything about insurance, the different insurance for those age groups are completely different. So in launching this, I had to choose to pick a niche and then expand from there. And in business, you want to go where you're needed, not tolerated. And so I said, okay, I'm going to focus on the senior sector first. They are rapidly approaching, every boomer will be over 65 by 2030. And so that's 74 million people that will be over 65, meaning that they have to go on Medicare by 2030. The problem is those boomers include a lot of your physicians that are treating you. So they're retiring the same time that you guys are. So who's treating you?
Exactly.
Right. There's literally a shortage of providers across the board. By 2026, that's going to reach critical levels. And so the idea of starting this now is me thinking we have 7 years to ramp up and to be able to fill a void that is already present. It's been present since 2020. The pandemic has only gotten worse. And I know, everyone knows that it's pretty much going to reach its pinnacle by 2030. So a lot of things are going to be happening between 2026 and 2030 that I'm trying to ramp up to have the capacity to serve. I'm starting out with one vehicle, but over a 10-year period, if everything works according to plan, God hears us. So let's see what he's going to do.
Right,
I want to have 7,000 vehicles. And so that is a lot, but that's where the franchise comes in. We have 700,000 physical therapists. And if we can only capture just 1% of that, we have our 7,000. So we don't need volume to get volume, actually. And when it comes to the insurance, people that have Medicare, the great thing about Medicare is it's kind of fixed. It means that they pay a particular amount for the service, and it's a good amount. They pay about $125 a visit. So it's a healthy model to be able to build your practice on. It will get more challenging as we go below 65 because Miss Deidre, can I talk about even your insurance experience?
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
You can.
the insurance marketplace is a zoo, and nobody knows what their insurance does until they actually need it. And so when I was looking at your insurance card, I was like, they got her. They got her. Your visit, you're paying $75 co-pays for your visit. So if I'm telling you that I'm getting $125 from Medicare, for your Health First, they may give like $40 a visit, but they're making you pay $75 up front, and then they may pay $5 to me. So you're paying, but you're paying your premium, and then you're also paying me. So what are they actually paying for?
Nothing.
Right.
Yeah, nothing. And we know that, and this has been part of the scam. And the largest debt in the United States outside of education and higher ed is insurance.
Right.
You know, and so they will give a one price for the doctors, the insurance, but then for the regular people, they're giving somebody else. So where's that money, that fat that's in between? If you're not getting it and I'm not getting it, who's collecting it? They are. Okay.
Exactly.
And, so therefore, then you have millions of people who do not have insurance. I got something better than nothing, but you have folks who don't even have that. And then they're giving them retail price.
Right.
For their health. And then, so what ends up happening? People are dying out because they can't get the care.
Or they end up using the ER as their primary care. And we're paying like $4 trillion a year. And when we hear that, people think, oh, yeah, the government's paying that. No, we're paying that. Medicare, that's our money. Social Security, that's our money. That's not money that they take from our paychecks to supplement the nation, but that's our money. And so these insurance, before anyone goes into, I would say the most important thing for someone under 65 is to choose wisely for insurance. Right. I can tell you, as soon as you said Health First, when a provider hears that, they think, okay, that's a community kind of plan. And I don't take that because, one, they really fight you to reimburse you for anything. And they put the onus, as you see, that's a very high copay. $75 a visit is very high.
If you have certain doctors, and I have my doctors, and my doctors were no longer taking United Healthcare because United Healthcare will cover, but they don't pay. So the provider's waiting almost 6 months to 180 days before they get paid. They have insurances that they have to pay. They got their staff that they have to pay, because people have to understand that they are small businesses as well.
Right.
And so when you have a set of doctors that you know, that you trust, you're going to follow the insurance that they accept.
It makes sense.
That's the other dilemma.
Right. It does make sense.
So if my insurance companies are not accepting this insurance, that insurance, this insurance, that insurance, because of the new changes or what have you, and I want to keep my providers, because these are the people that I trust, now I'm stuck. So if this is the insurance that they want, this is the insurance that I have to have in order to keep my providers that I trust for my health.
Right.
Because otherwise I could be thrown in. And many times the new thing now is they're so big, it's no longer you can call your doctor's office. Everybody
you have to call the network.
Right. The network, everything is in there, and it's very complicated. And so when you talked about the seniors, let's talk about the seniors.
Yes.
Everything is done by software. they're not used to doing technology.
Yes.
You know, I see this meme that makes me laugh all the time. There's two politicians in two different age groups. One is on the computer typing away, and the other one she's struggling on her on her phone.
Right.
Okay, it's the same thing. They're used to being able to walk in, talk to the doctors, talk to somebody human,
Right.
not someone behind the desk telling them, "Oh, you got to put that in the computer."
Right. And
Okay.
I've definitely seen that the over reliance where you call a number and they tell you to go online. It's like, well, why are you hired then? What is your
Right.
actual role? If everything is online,
Exactly.
then should
Exactly.
they save that money? And
Right.
so I definitely agree with you. And then
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, there is kind of like a rigidness when it comes to seniors sometimes where like my grandfather is 93 and he's messaging me on WhatsApp. He,
Yeah.
you know, because he's a learner, he's a pathologist, so he has kept his willingness to learn
Right.
from his from early on. And I do feel that as people get older, they become a little bit more rigid in that you could learn, but you feel I don't want to learn. And
Exactly.
if that's the role you take, healthcare is going to be hard for you in general because you're
Exactly.
going to have to unlearn some probably poor habits that we maybe inherited from our families, our culture, what have you. But I think being able to have a learning mindset, even with technology, because it's not going away. There-
Right. It's no, no,
right,
no, no, no. It's not going away. And some people they're worried about other people coming into the country taking their jobs, and it's not that. It's AI, and they just
yes,
wake up and understand that's it. That's who got your jobs. You know.
yes.
So all of this other type of stuff, they need to stop it. It's
And the funny part is the work that migrants do, the people who are worried about that, they don't
they
even
don't
do
want to
that
do
kind
that
of
work
work.
anyway. They're not
So
doing it.
that's a
They're
whole
not.
nother story.
They're not doing it. So you know,
Right,
it's just like stop it already.
right.
Stop it. So
Exactly. So we are about 10 minutes. We have about another 10 minutes, and I wanted to make sure that you called out your website and what is that
yeah.
call to action that you would like individual listeners to take.
Hmm. Okay, so the name of my website is Theramotive, and it took months to come up with a name. One, a lot of the names were already taken or the domains already bought, but when I came up with Theramotive, it just felt like it was a play on so many different words. One, therapy, of course, and then the motive one, we're on a vehicle, so automotive, but then also when you choose to take your healthcare into your own hands, there's a motive behind it. And
Yes.
so I really feel like found I found just the right fit for what it is that we're doing here. So the website is theramotive.com. And our approach is to partner with organizations, local organizations that have the same idea where healthcare needs to be accessible. They have access to these seniors, and we can partner with these organizations so that we can reach people where they already are. They should be able to be in their community and have this world class luxury facility come to them.
Right.
They don't have to travel to Manhattan for it. Everything's not in Manhattan. Like the Mecca is not in Manhattan. You know, there's every single neighborhood that is in New York has its good and bad. And we need to meet everyone where they are and not have everything be central where you have to shuffle out to get to your healthcare provider once every 3 months or so, if that.
Thank you so much.
No,
Yeah,
you're
so
welcome.
that's wonderful. So just to finish out the conversation, could you just give people a sense of the urgency of this matter that we're dealing with? I mean, we've talked a lot about it, and that sort of thing, but in my local community, what are some things that I might be able to do to contribute to the conversation that you're presenting?
It's definitely a multi-layered approach, but I would say developing the ability to create habits is probably going to be us as Black people is going to change our trajectory. And the habits in and of itself don't matter, but being able to develop one, to create a goal, to create a way to achieve that goal, to have daily traction that you make, I think that's going to be really important for us, because the stick to itness is what's lacking. We all have good intentions, but there's something happening where what you want or who you see yourself as and who you are, there's a big disconnect. And that's because the discipline and the ability to create lasting habits are missing. So maybe being willing to read more, because all the best kept secrets are in the book.
That's
all
right.
You got to do is open it. But if you're resistant to reading, you're going to be told what to do, and you won't have any way to verify if it's actually true.
Okay.
Deidre, any final comments on your part?
No, I'm just very excited. I just know that her model, she's going to do extremely well. It's very needed for our community. It's needed for everyone. And, it's thank you for being one of our members. We are very, very excited. And when we have the conference, you'll be able to speak more. You're going to be able to meet the business owners, and let's get it going. Let's get it going, because this is what community is about, and this is what the U.S. Coalition of Black Women Business is about: uplifting and empowering, one another, and for success. And our health matters. No matter what the media says, we matter. Okay, and so that's really important. That's important. And so
we're investing in ourselves. Yeah.
Exactly. So closing out, we have several events that's taking place. We have an event on November 1st. We also have another event. Please look at the website, everybody. Go to www.uscbwb.org. You'll see the information in reference to our events, upcoming events, our luncheon, and of course, our SHEE talk that's going to be taking place. And you want to be in that. That's our space. That's us. For us, no one else is involved. This way, we can talk as Black women and try to empower one another, get to know one another. There's no recording on SHEE talks, just to remind everybody. It's just us talking. Okay? And then also the Ghana trip, which we're all excited about. And we're hoping that Dr. Lola will also come along with us to Ghana 2024. And we're going to be talking about some great things over there in reference to our wellness, and then also, economic equity and what it looks like, and, what we can do to help our community. So I'm Deidre Helberg, president of the U.S. Coalition of Black Women Businesses, closing out with Vice President Anita Russell, our esteemed guest, Dr. Lola Omishore. Did I say it right?
Omishore.
I'm so sorry. And, come join us. We're happy that you're here. Become a member. Get involved. Let's do this, ladies, because you matter. You are valued. And that's what it is. Your win is our win. We don't do this alone. All right.
Thank you, everyone. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Dr. Lola. And I look forward to learning a lot more about your work as you move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.